Assalamu alaikum. Welcome and welcome back to Masjid New Africa Center for Human Development Sunday address and Talim. We'd like to again welcome you. Today we have a very special and dear guest, Brother Mustafa Abdur Rahmaan. Brother Mustafa Abdur Rahmaan is let's see, he's a very, very committed and dedicated worker in the Islamic community and basically the community at large. He's a husband, he's a grandfather, he is by trade a cybersecurity engineer. So, any security issues with the internet or email or anything, he is a dedicated and valuable source to consult. And Brother Mustafa has recently, he and his family, Sister Sandira Amin, recently relocated to Shreveport, Louisiana. But again, so I'd like to welcome Brother Mustafa, make you comfortable, welcome you to, again, Masjid New Africa Sunday address in Thailand. And without further ado, Brother Mustafa. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. And thank you very much, Sister Latifa. Uh, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. I seek refuge from the rejected enemy, known to man, the avowed enemy. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Praise be to Allah, the cherisher and evolver of all the systems of knowledge. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. Maliki Yawmiddin, master of the day of judgment. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. It is you we worship, and you alone we ask for help. Idinas siratal mustaqim. Guide us to the straight path. Siratal ladina and amta alayhim. Gairil magdubi alayhim walid dawling. The way of those on whom thou hast bestowed thy grace, not those who have invoked your anger and who go astray. And just from this particular seven ayats of the Quran, which is the book that the Muslims read and follow, I want to welcome you all to the Talim on the platform of Masjid New Africa Center for Human Development. And Talim is just an informal way of explaining or sharing knowledge of the Muslims. And it's also uh, named as the Sunday Public Address because you want to just share our knowledge and our perspective of what we believe and the perspective that we have of the Creator. So I welcome you. And it's definitely a pleasure to be on this platform. I've known Imam Tariq for many, many years. We've worked together on a lot of different projects, and I appreciate him giving me this voice to express and share some ideas, because this is what it's about. It's just sharing some ideas. My topic today is, and and this is a wonderful topic that he has when he's using the community as a guard, because both of those words are so full of knowledge and they're so full of expressions. So my topic is our community is a garden, and I want to talk about our successes. The garden reference that's in the Quran, uh, one of them is a metaphor, and it's talked about. What does the Quran say about gardens? And that Arabic term for the garden is hadaka, hadaka, which is for those that have that the Quranic Black Dictionary. It would be on page 116, so you can look that word up. Uh, Hadaka. And what that means is gardens. So as we examine that term garden, we're going to, I guess, express it and compare it to the community. Gardens are mentioned in the Quran to represent a vision of paradise. It states that believers would dwell in gardens beneath which rivers flow. So, what does the Quran say about protecting that environment, that garden? Allah created a perfectly balanced world on the basis of sustainability and circularity. This balance must be maintained by man acting moderately, thoughtfully, and justly. Waste, pollution, and destruction are the very qualities that Allah abhors. So I'm going to read another ayat out the Quran, which comes from Surah 27, which is Anam, ayat 60. And it reads, Who has created the heavens and the earth? And who sends you down rain from the sky? Yeah, with it we cause to grow well planted orchards full of beauty, of delight. It is not in your power to cause the growth of the trees in them. Can there be another God besides Allah? Nay, they are a people who swerve from justice. So, in understanding that we have to turn everything to the Creator, turn all our attention to the Creator, because there's also another verse that I'm gonna make reference of when Moses was dealing with Pharaoh. And I think one of the questions when a logical thinker is uh, uh, questioned, because Pharaoh was in the time Moses had to go back to Pharaoh to get his people, to question Pharaoh in order to let them go. And he asked him a question. He said, "Okay, Pharaoh," he said, "The sun, Allah raises the sun from the west. Are you able to raise the sun from the east?" Excuse me, that's not how it goes. He said, "The sun rises from the east. Are you able to make the sun rise from the west?" And of course, Pharaoh couldn't. But it really upset him that he was asked that question because he had to do a logical thinking process, and he knew he couldn't. So in essence, our community with this garden, when you plant a garden, you have to kind of consider that it's going to be invaded. We have to put protection on it. We have to do those things that keeps that garden kind of cleared out of weeds and pests. There are other things that also affect the garden, far as the little young uh, plants, being affected by the weather, and it may not grow up because we had planted some fruit trees in our yard, and then we had a cold snap come through. Of course, the plants didn't make it because they were very young. So we have to consider these conditions, and we have to also understand that we have to protect those uh, younger plants from the elements that they may endure. So same thing with the community. We have to put protection on our communities if we want that community to change, or we want that community to develop into the uh, things that's required to build the strength. So I say that to kind of remind ourselves that the young people that are in our community that may not be adhering to, or at least in the space that we think they should be, have patience, pray to Allah, and then build some type of atmosphere that will support them. Because I'm telling you, without a support system, you will not survive. And that is the biggest issue, that we may see in a lot of our communities, is that there's no support system. We say, I don't want to deal with that. Well, that may not be your calling, but somebody in the community has a calling for that. And we just have to just have patience, pray, and eventually Allah will send that help that's required to work in that community to rid it of those things that's not conducive to the growth and development of that community, as well as that garden. So, what does the garden symbolize in Islam? Traditionally, an Islamic garden is a cool place of rest and reflection and a reminder of paradise. The Quran has many references to gardens, and the garden is used as an earthly analog for the life in paradise. So, not only is it something in the present, it also applies to something that's going to be in the future. And so it gives us a comparison of expectation. What is it that we expect? And of course, our expectation is we want it to be better, but sometimes we don't know how. So Allah has kind of take that away from us to say, hey, if you can survive the present and just look or point to the future, then you can make it. Because again, our community is a garden, and what are our successes? Because there are so many things that work. But a lot of time we let that negative aspect of our lives kind of overshadow what is working. So I kind of want to point to those that are in the Hitchcock area, Texas City area, as well as the Galveston area, that Masjid New Africa Center for Human Development is always there. The doors are always open. And you want to look for a support system, it's already there. We just have to grab hold, stop by, just to learn more about what's in the community. And I've been down there, in Hitchcock, working with Tyree, and I appreciate his work that he does for that community because it's needed. And he's making a really, really bold statement that, hey, we can do better. And that's what we all have to do. We all should have that same mindset that we can do better. So join up with the ma'am and the team that's there to work in order to make a difference. So that's what it's about. How can we protect our environment in our own communities? Islam has attached much importance to the protection of environment, asking its followers not to cut trees, pollute rivers, contaminate the atmosphere. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught people to live on less, to protect animals and plant life, and to worship the Creator by being merciful to the creation. So that's also letting us know that we should not be just destroying things, you know, for no reason. What is the purpose of going to cut a tree down if you're not going to do anything with it outside of it falling on your house or falling on your car and you just want to move it? So that's a reason to if you need to cut it down. But just to be cutting it down and you don't have no purpose or nothing to do with it, some people cut them down and cut it up and make firewood out of it. But that's a purpose. And so we always have to have some type of purpose, in our communities and in our own personal individual lives. This is what it's about. Just making sure that we don't haphazardly go out and do things that's going to, not induce uh, a mindset or an example that would be best. What does Islam say about nature and protection? According to the teachings of Islam, the essential elements of nature, earth, water, fire, forest, and light, belong to all living things and not only to the human race. Islam has emphasized the importance of preserving the environment and protecting natural resources. So we can't be wasteful. And these natural resources that are here, I remember the time I remember the time we used to be outside playing and we would just drink out the water hose. Now who would have thought after years of doing that now, You can't drink the way they say you're not supposed to drink the water out of the water hose. So now they can sell you the bottled water. So what happened to the water? Who made the water unsafe, not to drink? So you have to kind of ask yourself, like, wow, what is going on? Because water is free. It comes from the sky down to the earth, as the law wills. And so it's amazing that just journal things that's in our our society, that now it takes a whole different effort in order to get it. So we also must remember that in our communities, we want to make sure that we can take care of those people that are not, able to do for themselves. We have those elderly. We always must check on them. If you have elderly in your families, please call them and understand that they're in need of our efforts in order to take care of them as they also looked out for us. Those with parents, please call your parents, because they are the ones that actually, went through those things and tried their best to give you the best that they had in order to make sure that you were successful. And now I just want to deal with these successes because, again, the negative effort that of Shaitan, or the devil, is to get us off of the positive things that we do. And a lot of us do a lot of positive things, but sometimes we don't keep track of the positive. Do you realize that when you tell something, that you tell the truth, you don't have to remember it? But when you tell a lie, you have to, because the minute you don't say the same thing, or at least you do your best, and most of the time you forget what you said, and someone would, they say they catch you in a lie. Because you try to do the best you can to remember it. But when you tell the truth is the truth. No matter when they ask you again, you're like, no, it was like this what I did, or this what I said. And there's no even remembering that you have to do, because the truth is the truth. So let's kind of work on our own individual things that we do, so that we don't have to worry about, what did I say? And once you begin that lifestyle, you're on your way. So moving on to what Allah says in the Quran about nature. The Lord is saying, if you want to see me and feel my existence, then look at nature. Look at the things I have created. This means that you shouldn't be disturbing the objects that worship Allah. So what is that pertaining to? We should not be telling other people, what's not good for them. And I'm speaking of interfaith. What our job should be is to learn what other people are doing and have some type of tolerance, especially because I always ask myself, and I ask a lot of people, it doesn't really matter if your way of life is making you a better person, then who am I to say what your way of life should or should not be doing? Because that's the whole purpose of it, is to straighten your life up. And so when it does that, then you can maintain around anybody. You don't have to just be around certain people in order to be the best you can be. We don't know where our information is going to come from. We don't know where our lesson is going to come from. And when you close the door to certain people, certain circumstances, and Allah is going to actually feed you from those rivers or those sources, then you're not going to get the lesson, and you're not going to get the knowledge, you're not going to get the love, you're not going to get the the experience that's for you. So we have to say, okay, Allah, you in the car, you driving, and just you the other passenger in this life, in this human body that we actually have. So also, lastly, on this topic, because it's always an individual effort. Uh, and when you begin to talk about those elements, of the garden. You know, the soil, the the soil, uh, the sunlight. There are saplings that we sometimes forget that are required. The grains, the herbs, all these things are in the garden, the plants, and they all have a purpose. They're all for nutritional purposes. And one of the things that I really like about the garden and the way Allah has set all this in motion is that if we follow the color code that Allah has set up, we would have pretty much all of the nutritional uh, 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 elements of a meal. And people talk about that now, actually getting paid just to talk about what Allah has already created that's been free. You eat some red, put some green on your plate. You got the protein, which would be your meat or your beans or whatever. And if you look at that, your plate is so colorful, but you have everything you need in order to sustain your life. And all that comes mainly from the garden. So I got a couple of things I'm gonna read from the Bible because this also is a talim and it shows that we are, I have not been Muslim all my life. I converted. So I kind of want to read a couple of things from the Bible that's related to the garden verses. One of those would be the Lord will guide you always. He will satisfy your needs in a sun-scorched land and will strengthen your frame. You will be like a well-watered garden, like a spring whose waters never fail. That's in Isaiah 58:11. Another verse pertaining to the garden is, ask the plants of the earth, and they would teach you. That comes from Job 12:8. Another verse that comes from Jeremiah 29:5, and it says, build houses and settle down, plant gardens, and eat what they produce. See, all this is motivation that we need to really plant our own food because, we know how it's getting, but we also know that in our community, we want to also know that we need to do things to keep that community moving forward positively. And it depends on our influence in those communities and our work that we do in those communities that will make that big difference. So this is why I'm saying that we need to always be involved with those positive entities. We call them grassroots uh, entities in our own communities that will help promote that positivity that will overshadow those unsuccessful or those negative vibes. The last verse I'm gonna read that comes from Solomon 8:13 from the Bible is, he, you who dwell in the gardens with friends in attendance, let me hear your voice. Song of Solomon. So this is saying that you're going to be in the garden with your friends, those that we call friends, brothers, sisters, and he's telling you to dwell, settle down, build your homes, and work on something that's important. Now, right now at this time, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention that one of our best efforts as far as community life and having and being committed to one interest is our Hajj that's going on right now for the Muslims over in Saudi Arabia. You know, well over 1 billion people right now are going through rituals to worship the Creator, Allah. And see, those rituals, they are there from all over the world, dressed alike. No one knows where you're from, and you are there for the sake of worshiping your Creator. This is amazing because the growth of this started from a small community in Mecca and moved over to Medina, just in Saudi Arabia, and now it's all over the world. And when I tell you, when you have one interest, what is the best for the human being, This gives us motivation. This gives us encouragement to be plugged in to those communities we live in to make a difference. So I'm going to stop there because I want to share some other things that's sort of a part of my job. And I'll have to come back uh, to add in a little more. Uh, but what I want to share today would be dealing with how do you tell if you get a phishing email? And there are some things that you can do. For instance, like I have an email that I got. I don't know, Latif, if I can share my screen or not, but I received an email a few days ago from AT&T, and T. And one of the things that I mean, they almost look really legitimate. But most phishing attacks are sent by email, and the crooks will register a fake domain that mimics a genuine organization that sends thousands of generic requests. So the fake domain often involves characters or substitutions like using an R and an N together. So you put an R and an N together, it almost looks like an M. Think about that. R and an N, it would look like an M. So for instance, if they sending you something from Amazon and Amazon is spelled AM, they can put an A, R, and an N. And if you quickly glance at it, you think, and finish spelling out Amazon, you think it's Amazon. And it's not. But you kind of hover over that return email address, open it, and it will show you, oh, that's an R. That's not it. An M, R, N. Just that. And so we have to understand that even if you get a email that you're not familiar with, please do not click on any links in the email. It doesn't matter because they use urgencies. They use uh, your your job duties. They use your supervisor is in need of something. The key thing is not to click on the link because that opens your computer up for them to get in, jump in, and try to drop what we call a file that may be a worm or it may be some spyware. And that spyware could be something like a keylogger that can be, installed on your computer, and it can figure out everything you're doing as you type. So it can get beginning to log all your passwords, all your email addresses that you're sending stuff to. So just beware and know that that's coming. Lastly, I know we've been hearing this term AI. AI scares me. The reason I say AI scares me is because if I could take a sampling of your voice, just a sampling. So this is I'm a venture. I'm gonna come back to AI, what we call smishing and vishing. Submission or a text message that you may get that's an urgency that they need you to reply to. And 90% of your text message you get is going to have a link in it. Do not click on that link. If it's somebody like AT&T, Xfinity, call them. You have their number. If you're a client of them, you have the correct number. Call them and ask them what is the problem. Do not use that link as a conversational piece. Vision with the V, as in Victor, would be voicemail. They'll leave you an urgent message telling you to call back. You don't just call them back because, again, they are trying to see if that number they left a voicemail on is active. And lastly, dealing with the phone is when you receive a call from somebody that you don't know, that's not in your contact list. When you answer that call, do not say nothing for about 5 seconds. Rest assured, if there's a human being on the other end of that line, they're gonna say hello, hello, hello. Because again, that could be what they call a bot, BOT, and it's ready to record your voice. So it can be sent over to the AI to record it. So once that human comes on and they tell you what they want, that's up to you then to decide whether you want to deal with that or just hang the phone up. You got to say nothing. We still are in charge of our own lives. Never think for one moment you don't have a choice to do what's required for the best interest of yourself and your community. So you're still in charge of your life. If there's any questions, you can go on and put those questions in, uh, because this is a broad topic, and I did want to. This was just dealing with the email phishing because I got one from AT&T, and I also got one from Amazon that was telling me my password need to be changed. Now if I get the email and this is what I do, it's bad for everybody else because they don't know if it's real, and especially if you're dealing with the elderly people, your Social Security, let's say the insurance scams, very very important right now. So just know that you don't have to respond right then. You can just say, okay, I call them in a minute. So this AT&T one I got was saying that uh, they just noticed my address changed, which Latifah said I just moved. So of course I'm like, oh, what are they talking? Yeah, I did move, right? So in my mind, I'm gonna say, oh, this may be legitimate, or this might. I mean, now I've been here over a year. So why are you not telling me, oh, someone just told us you moved? Yeah, and I do have the AT&T. Yes, so if there's a problem with my address, I still get the bill, and I've been paying it for over a year. That doesn't make sense. So sometimes we also have to put our best twist on it and make sure that we kind of keep thinking about those things, because that also applies to community life. Now we have to understand that again. Let's apply that to someone coming to tell you something about somebody, what somebody else said about you. Always investigate whatever comes your way. Investigate, and then you can put the best twist and know that you're working from both sides. So, well, hold on. Let me get with that next person, because we don't want to get caught up in situations, that would take a lifetime to get out of. So I'm gonna close here. I appreciate you listening to me, and whatever I've said, may it benefit you. And that's what the garden does. The garden is here to benefit us. And this is why I wanted to just talk about successes, because no matter what, it benefits us as well as those who uh, do not care. And that's one of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We say uh, when we talk about Rahman and Rahim, all those things, all those mercies that Allah will send upon a person, even if they're doing wrong, they still get the rain. And we like, that's not fair. But Allah didn't say that, because just per chance they can listen to one of these talks, tune in to something that may change their life. So we never want to, not say what's required, because we never know what it may do. We have to always present, and that's dawah. We always have to present what Allah tells us, and from our experiences of doing what Allah tells us, then we become that example for them to look at. So again, let's not forget that Masjid New Africa is there in that area, Hitchcock, Texas City, Galveston, and stop in because they're there doing the work, and they would definitely welcome you with open arms. So I shall close with inna atina fid dunya hasanatin what fil akhirati hasanatin wa qina adhabin nar. Allah, give us excellence in this life and give us excellence in the life to come, and save us from the punishment of the fire. I mean,
Ameen, ameen, ameen. Thank you, Brother Mustafa. We thank you so much for your presentation and bringing it full circle using references from our holy books. And like you say, today is a public address. It's for any and all to share knowledge and learn a little bit more. So we appreciate you for that. And we also appreciate you for sharing your knowledge on cybersecurity, which is what you do by profession. We appreciate that, and as you say, the internet and security, those things are really, really growing and changing. We'd like to invite you back, inshallah, and maybe you can give us, again, as you offered, a presentation on that, inshallah, more in depth presentation on that, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. All right. Well, thank you again. Stay strong, stay safe. I understand you all had some bad weather in that area, but inshallah, everyone is doing okay.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. All right, then. Well, good to see you, Brother Mustafa, virtually, and give everyone the greetings there in Shreveport, Louisiana, from us, Masjid,
Alhamdulillah.
inshallah.
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
So we'd like to ask our audience to stay tuned for a few additional announcements. Once again, on behalf of Masjid New Africa, Imam Tyree, the believers, and the community, we'd like to thank you for taking the time out to join with us today. We'd ask that you also like or subscribe to our page so that you may stay informed of our community outreach, events, and programming. We are located in Hitchcock, Texas, at 7610 Highway 6. The zip code is 77563, and you can join us again on Sunday at 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for our public address, and then again on Friday for Jummah prayer at 1:30 p.m. We'd also like to let you know that our United Eid and the United Eid for the community will be held on Wednesday, June the 28th. The Eid prayer will be held at 9:30 for the Salat. The takbirs will begin at 9. The takbirs will begin at 9, and the Salat will begin at 9:30. The location is Masjid Talim Muhammad with Imam Basil Abdullah. The location is 5111 East 40th and a half Street in Houston, Texas, and the zip code is 77022. And the Eid Festival will be that following Saturday, July 1st. We'll have food, games, and gifts. The event will be held, the festival will be held from 5 to 8:30 p.m. and food will be served from 5:30 to 7:30. Donations are accepted and graciously appreciated. You may go to paypal.me/MasjidWDM to make a donation, or Cash App $MasjidWDM. The flyer will be posted on our website as well, inshallah. We'd also like to invite you to what was it? It was Islamic Learning Institute's second summer student recital. That's today at 3 p.m. And I put the link in the chat box. You can join via Zoom. The meeting ID is 824-5247-8145. The passcode is 100240. Or you may dial in at 1-305-224-1968. So again, that's the Islamic Learning Institute second summer student recital today at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. So once again, on behalf of Masjid New Africa, we'd like to thank you for joining us, and inshallah, we will see you inshallah at the Eid on Wednesday, and you will join us for Jummah on Friday. Have a great week, everyone. Inshallah, stay safe, and may Allah continue to bless us all. Assalamu alaikum.